So which public sector workers won't have their salaries capped by Alistair Darling? Well, funnily enough, it's the MPs.
Now your verdict on yesterday's pre-budget report. Alistair Darling delivered his financial plans for the year ahead and didn't do much to win over the Tory-loving current bun. It's a great headline, though how true it is, well, you can tell us in just a sec. As predicted, bankers are going to pay a 50% tax on discretionary bonuses over 25 grand. This is a move supported by the half-pint French president, Nicolas Sarkozy. There was some good news for breeders. I know a lot of breeders watch this show. Child benefit up 1.5% next year. That is a 30p rise a week for your first little consumer. Party on, guys! 30p. 500,000 more primary kids are going to get free school meals, and the elderly, they're going to be better off as well. £2.40 added to the weekly state pension. On the dark side, a rise in national insurance is going to hit businesses and all those earning more than 20 grand a year. It'll pull in something like £3 billion to Darling's treasury. Combine that with the 2-year cap on public sector pay, that begins from 2011, and people like nurses, they're really going to start suffering. Will all public sector workers have their pay rises capped? No, because as we just heard, MPs won't. The Daily Mail is not alone in criticising the Chancellor for playing politics and failing to grasp the nettle of Britain's debt. The real pain has been stalled until after the next election. What a surprise. I have to say, if I was Alistair Darling, I would probably have done the same thing, Steve. Yeah. What's your take on it?
I mean, it's inevitable that you're always going to... that this will be hijacked by the media as last-ditch attempts. There's going to be an election in 6 months, and of course, and we're not alone in the world from suffering. Let's not forget that it was Darling and this government that kind of led the world in terms of trying to get out of the
Well, let's start from the beginning. It was Gordon Brown that got us into this situation, and Gordon Brown and Alistair Darling...
But the whole world is in this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, our debt is nowhere near the debt of other countries. I mean, Japan is far worse, America is worse, France is worse.
Ireland, you could argue, is far worse. Ireland, in their budget, they did grasp the nettle. I mean, pain, real pain for the Irish.
Well, I mean,
Let's go through some. The bankers, 50% a tax on a discretionary bonus.
But of course, they're a wily bunch and they'll probably change their job
We were there yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, and they were saying, you know...
Well, everyone I met, I said, I've never worked with a banker before. Don't call me a banker, I'm a trader.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So they can use it in terms of wages now. You know, it'll just be hidden, that kind of trying to charge them on the bonuses. They'll hide it in terms of wages, in terms of stocks and shares for the companies.
I mean, they were talking about raising £500 million. I don't think it's going to raise £5.
No. And they're mobile. They'll just leave the country. They'll just go, these guys.
A lot of the bankers that admitted they were bankers were from Europe.
And their money's going offshore. But I think it's also important to say that whilst we're all having a go at the government at the moment, I think it's Osborne's ideas for budget are far scarier in terms of his... there'll be a massive reduction in public spending, which in time of recession will turn it into a depression. And I just think that is a very, very scary position to be in.
We're in a depression, we're already there.
War, I think.
So I think we need to keep spending money to keep the economy alive. And I think on that score, it's not as excessive as the Irish budget, and I think that's very important. But of course, you know, I think the capping of MPs' pay as a gesture wouldn't be a bad thing to do. Or just start to freeze it for a couple of years wouldn't be a bad thing to do politically.
Post expenses, MPs will still be looking to give themselves a pay rise at some point. Lucy, were you surprised by anything? Pleased by anything?
No, I mean, you know, I don't know whether I'm coming or going, to be honest with this lot. But I just don't know. They're just trying to appease us, I think, before the election, and it's just the bankers thing that gets my goat.
Do you play bingo?
I don't.
No, me neither. Anybody play bingo?
Why?
Bingo, the bingo tax, that's been reduced by 2p.
I'm taking it up. Let's take it up. Yes, let's play bingo, yeah.
So it's, and there's the boiler scrappage scheme that's being introduced.
That's right.
Yeah. How you get rid of your ex-wife and you get paid cash from the government. That's what I'm assuming it is. Bingo and boilers. Bingo and boilers. That's a proper Labour budget. Gail, were you surprised by anything? Delighted by anything? I mean, it's interesting that we were there in the middle of the city when this was coming through.
Yeah.
And I think it would be fair to say they were furious, weren't they, the bankers?
Yeah, furious and slightly tipsy. But they were on a great old day. But no, I was more interested in what you say about, you know, they can change the name, the traders, they're not bankers.
Yeah.
It is quite frightening.
Pay it more in salary. And when we're saying this is a temporary super tax, I mean, they say it lasts
like a
a year.
stopgap.
It only lasts until April the 6th. So all they have to do is not pay their bonuses now and pay them on April the 7th. And there's no problem. I mean, this is kindergarten stuff. Extraordinary. Let's throw it open to you. What did we think of this pre-budget report? Were there things you think were good, things that were bad? Were you surprised in any shape or form by what Alistair Darling came up with? Let's see what you have to say. Kirsty.
First we have Phil, and he's on line 1.